Hello, welcome back to AQS Inmate Call. I'm your host, Joel Wilborn. We talk a lot about the numbers, the budgets, the legislation, the statistics, but today we're looking at what happens when the policies meant to keep order cross the line into what investigators are calling, quote, unnecessary and, quote, incorrect force. We're diving into a recent investigation by the Office of the Corrections Ombuds regarding the Washington Correction Center for Women in Gig Harbor, Washington. From pepper spray used at point-blank range to a woman left without a shower for 3 weeks in solitary. This isn't just about rules being broken, it's about the human cost of institutional failure. The investigation covers a period from late 2024 into April 2025. What they found were 4 major policy violations that paint a troubled picture of the daily operations inside the state's largest women's prison. Let's talk about individual A. In a high-tension moment, after an inmate allegedly swung at an officer, 2 different guards deployed pepper spray, but they didn't just deploy it. They sprayed it directly into her eyes from a distance of less than 3 feet. Now, according to the ombuds, the manufacturer's own safety guidelines say you need distance to prevent permanent damage. When the experts, the people who actually make the spray, say, quote, don't do this, unquote, and the officers do it anyway, we have to ask, is this about safety or is it about punishment? Perhaps the most haunting part of this report involves individual B. This was a suicide attempt. A woman was found in her cell with material around her neck. An officer witnessed this. In that moment, every second is the difference between life and death. But instead of immediate intervention, the officer left. They went to go find a protective shield and pepper spray. Think about that. You see someone losing their life, and the first instinct isn't, quote, save them. It's, quote, gear up. The investigation found this delay actually increased the likelihood of suicide. She survived, but only by chance. It raises a massive red flag about the culture of, quote, security first over, quote, humanity first. Then there's individual C, a woman struggling with mental illness. She was held in what the DOC calls medical seclusion. In reality, it was solitary confinement. She was kept in a cell for weeks. The report notes she hadn't showered in 21 days. 3 weeks without basic hygiene while under, quote, medical care. We've seen this before in our research on institutional budget crisis and facility conditions. When staffing is low or training is thin, treatment often looks a lot like neglect. So, what's the fallout? DOC Secretary Tim Lang has admitted this behavior, quote, plainly does not meet expectations, unquote. 3 staffers are on home assignment, and 2 have been reassigned. They also claim to have eliminated the practice of medical seclusion. But for those of us in the advocacy space, we know a name change doesn't always mean a change in culture. This investigation is a reminder of why transparency matters. If you want to read the full report, you can find it via King 5 News on their website. And King 5 is the one who broke the story. Now, just as a reminder, if you or someone you know is in crisis, please reach out to the 988 Lifeline. There is help available. Now, I'm sharing this with you because I read this report and it was kind of shared with me by other groups. And I felt that this was necessary to get out there, especially since I was able to talk to people who are currently incarcerated, those in the advocacy business, and people who have been released. And from what I understand, as far as the showers are concerned, I know the one where the individual swung at an officer. That's the video that you can see with the King 5 News report online, and that's the one we call the individual A. Now, in there, they're trying to apprehend individual A. One of my friends told me that the scene where she's sitting is the solitary confinement area that was currently called the hole, where they put people in seclusion because of behavioral issues or something. It's since changed because they don't put people in there unless it's, for medical or to isolate them because of fear of harm. It's more like a safety area, but they give it a different name, as I mentioned, and it's still pretty much the same thing. Well, this individual being in that seclusion area, they're limited on the number of showers they can have. And so they want to conserve their use of the shower. And that's to say, let's say you go camping and there's maybe a limited number of shower stalls. And so you'll be there for a week or two with your family and your friends. And so you'll have to ration the shower. Of course, people going into these limited number of showers every day and using up the limited number of water or limited amount of water every day will reduce it. And all the people at the camp must understand that. And you have to ration it out. And so you may not get a shower every day. And by human nature, you don't technically have to shower every day under normal situations. I mean, if you're sweating a lot or if you're working in a dirty environment, that makes sense. But when you're in a situation like that where you're limited resources, you're going to have to be careful. And that's something that these inmates know. They have to be careful about how they use resources because a lot of them are limited. And in solitary, a lot of it is based on showers. And so if she's told she can only shower twice a week, she may want to, go for a few days without showering and then shower and then go for a few more days and then shower. I guess that just makes sense rather than shower twice in one day or 2 days in a row. And that's what I was told that's what's going on. And it was understood that she was resisting going to the shower. Probably the people were complaining for hygiene, but she was more or less like, if I could shower every day, I could do it in her mind. But the officers, by taking her and they pretty much had control of her from what I could see in the video. And what the officials are saying is that everything was fine right up until those last few seconds of this video. And this video was taken by the Department of Corrections. It wasn't like a passerby or somebody stuck a camera in there. And you could see her face down on the table with the officers pretty much subduing her. But then somebody walks up and just sprays her. To me, it looked like it was just inches from her face, just right into her eyes. Of course, that's going to be painful. And of course, that's going to cause more harm than good. And like the report states, even the manufacturer says, don't do that. And I'm sure if officials from the factory or the manufacturer were to look at this, they could easily say, no, this is wrong. You shouldn't do that. And that's not the way we created this product. It wasn't meant to harm people. It was meant to subdue them. or stop it to the point where you could get away or get control. And that's fine. That's what we want pepper spray. It's better than shooting a person. And I'm glad that they didn't have a weapon to do that. And but spraying like that, yeah, she definitely should take that to court. And I hope she goes all the way and not settles. And I discussed that in a previous podcast where people tend to just give in and say, I don't want to go to court. I would rather just do this as a payoff. Just pay me and I'll keep quiet. And this story is out, which is good because it needs to be. I mean, suicide, you don't really hear too often of suicide. Somebody commits suicide, they hush it, pay off the family, and it's a done deal. But in this particular case, this person was saved by chance. And the guard, I'm not sure what was going through this person's mind, but running off to get protective gear and pepper spray with a person who's obviously trying to commit suicide, just it doesn't make any sense to me. So that has to go to court and be figured out. So I'm hoping all of these individuals will do just that, take it to court. And there's cases where drugs are smuggled into the facilities. There's cases where medical malpractice, where people are given the wrong medication, or people are neglected, they're just not given the proper care. And on the outs, a lot of people will take good care of themselves. They'll eat right, they'll shower, and they'll obey the law. But what happens to people that get locked up is something in their life, no matter what we might think or judge them on, something snaps and they commit a crime. And when they go to prison, they're supposed to be locked away from society for their safety, for our safety, and they're supposed to be given resources because this is a correctional center so they can get out and blend back into the community and be productive. They'll pay taxes instead of spending taxes. Well, what bothers me about this whole situation is these people go in there and there's a lot of room for failure. It's just set up that way. And one of the things that's brought to my attention was the case of some bacterial diseases, because there's a lot of unsanitary things in there. I mean, you got people who come in with diseases and they could spread them to others. You got those that just don't take care of themselves, and those that might just throw fecal matter around because these a lot of these people, they're just not in the normal state of mind, and being locked up like that certainly doesn't help. And the prison not following proper law and proper procedure, they're not helping. And these laws and these policies are here for a reason. The people are being punished in some cases, but they're trying to be rehabilitated too. And if you got somebody who goes to prison and is mistreated like this and gets out, their mental state isn't going to be the best. Their physical state isn't going to be the best. And they might not be emotionally stable. They might be angry, or they might be traumatized, or they could just want to get some kind of payback for their own personal satisfaction. Whatever the reason, they may come out and really harm people, including themselves, in the community. So this does affect you. You might say these people were terrible, they committed this crime, they deserve to be locked up, but they don't deserve to have people mistreat them and violate the law and stray from policy, especially like spraying pepper spray into a person's face who really doesn't deserve it. Just think about that. Think about an Uber driver picking you up who's traumatized by this. Or think of a woman who's pushing her newborn in a cart in a store, and then some sort of PTSD incident pops up and they hear something or see something that just triggers that old stuff. That can come back and really hurt us. And that's one of the reasons why I am a prison advocate, because I want to try to protect the community, protect the individuals by doing this properly. And we can all do this. You don't have to be a prison advocate to speak out and say, at least follow the law. And if the law is too harsh or doesn't quite work, it's too lenient, then the legislators should get together and change it. We shouldn't build more prisons, build more jails, lock up more people, and we certainly shouldn't cut the budget to the point where the people are trying to do their job, but they can't. I mean, these incidents that the ombudsman discovered, that's one thing, but there's a lot where the people want to do something, but they can't. And that shouldn't be fair. So I look at alternatives, the home monitoring, extended supervision. If a judge says you got 5 years probation, give it a try. Let's see what happens. Maybe put the people in hospitals or counseling centers instead of locking them up. A lot of single parents, they don't want to be away from their children. They'll be willing to do a lot to stay close to their kids. And if they're allowed to keep their children and they have an ankle monitor and they have to pay for that ankle monitor and they have to have a regular 40-hour-a-week job, I think they'll be willing to do that. And they'll come out a better person. And we'll have a safer community, and these people will be less likely to commit another crime, which I think is the ultimate goal. So I'm hoping that this doesn't just bounce off you like, water on a duck, that you'll be able to sit with your friends and family and associates and community leaders and get some of this stuff at least listened to. Because I'm not expecting miracles. Who does? But at least we can make an effort and we can put a dent in this system that we have that's obviously not working. So, this is AQS Inmate Call. Stay sharp, stay informed, and keep demanding better.